Hello and welcome to Hot Take Tuesday, now on my second channel. I'm just going to be doing these over here from now on because I don't think they fit the content style I'm trying to go with on my main channel now ever since I've made this shift, so they're just going to be here from now on. But let's just jump right into these hot takes. From Rudy St. Clair, Bobby is the most handsome guest we'll ever see on the Rusty and Mojo show. I agree, Rudy, and thank you for giving me this perfect opportunity to promote two things. First of all, there is a new episode of the Rusty and Mojo Show podcast out now. There's actually 2 episodes that are relatively new, but it's not been getting shown to people in their inboxes, so go subscribe to the Rusty and Mojo Show podcast and watch both of those podcasts as well, where we had Bobby on as the most recent guest for the episode that went up yesterday. Also, go check out Bobby's new video. He just started an NFL channel. I guess it's sports in general, but he's mainly focusing on the NFL. He uploaded a video on why the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, so both of those are going to be linked in the description, and go show Bobby some love. I really want him to get into this YouTube shit. Darren Fox is criminally underrated and should be in the All-Star conversation, but for some reason he isn't. I have been saying for a while now that Darren Fox is pretty much the most underrated player in the NBA, and I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. He has been amazing. He just won Player of the Week. The Kings are on the cusp of making the playoffs. I think they might even be in the playoffs right now. But, yeah, Darren Fox has been great. He should be in All-Star conversations. He's been probably a top 5 point guard in the league this year. Whether or not he makes it, I don't know, because All-Star appearances are tough, man. It seems like the league's talent is just so much that, very, very good basketball players are not making All-Star teams. It's difficult. But as for the take of he should be in All-Star conversations, absolutely. If not for Rudy Gobert, the Jazz wouldn't even be a playoff team. Okay, so this is from Ask the Truth, friend of the channel and of me. If this was 2 years ago or a year ago, I would say yes, but specifically this season with how good the Jazz's offense has been, I would say if you removed Rudy Gobert from this team and then their backup center, who is Derek Favors, was their starting center, I still think this would be a playoff team. They wouldn't be as good, but I think they'd still be a playoff team because right now they're 3rd in defense and 4th in offense. If you remove Rudy Gobert and put in Derek Favors, that probably drops to 13th in defense. Maybe if I'm being extreme, 20th in defense, but still number 4 in offense. If you're able to maintain that shooting ability the way the Jazz have, they currently have the best record in the league, then that's a playoff team. But the last 2 years, for sure, Rudy Gobert's defense was the crux of that team's success. This year, though, I think it's a mix of Rudy's defense and then the great offense. So I think if you removed, just like if you removed the great offense, this would still be a playoff team. It's the same where if you move the great defense, this would still be a playoff team. But of course, since they're both together, it's the perfect matchup. Whether or not the Utah Jazz are actually legit in the real contender category is another conversation. But I do think they could still make the playoffs this year without Gobert, but the last 2 years, hell no. Lonzo Ball will fix all of the Bulls' problems besides the injuries. Well, I don't know how Lonzo would fix the injuries, so that was kind of an unnecessary preface. But yeah, I do really want Lonzo Ball on the Bulls, really, 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 really badly. I want that more than anything right now. Lonzo would be fantastic on the Bulls. It'd be a great thing for both sides because Lonzo is this great playmaker and defender who in New Orleans is being this spot shooter. He's playing next to Eric Bledsoe, who's dribbling the ball a lot, Brandon Ingram, who's dribbling the ball a lot. I think paired next to Zach LaVine, it'd just be a match made in heaven, especially with the spacing the Bulls can provide. Larry Market and Otto Porter Jr. Wendell is shooting threes. They're not really going in, but hey, it's something. There's some serious fit, a good fit there between those two parties, and I really want that to happen. What the actual trade ends up being, I do not know. I don't have an exact answer. Lonzo's value, you ask one person, he's not worth a 2nd round pick. You ask another, he's worth a fucking future star. I'm not going to go into it, but Lonzo on the Bulls is something I would very much like to see. Zion is a bust compared to the potential the media put on him, and the Utah Jazz are contender level if they continue to play that they're currently on. So I'm going to ignore the second half of that question. I don't give a shit. I kind of already talked about that. Zion is not a bust. If you want to make the argument he has not lived up to expectations thus far, sure. There's areas of his game that have been disappointing, but I don't think the hype was that Zion 50 games into his career was going to be a top 10 player. If you want to argue he's disappointing, I agree with that, but I'm definitely not making the claim that he's a bust. Also, look, I hate when people overextend how much time someone gets before you declare them a bust, because there's still people who hold out for Andrew Wiggins. No, it's over, guys. but Zion hasn't played over 60 games yet, so maybe let's calm down. So he's not a bust, but thank you for giving me a very provocative title that is going to make people click on the video. So that was nice of you. Haley Williams is mid. I will find you, and I will burn everything that you love. Everything you will ever love. Everyone, everything, your family dog. I don't give a shit. Haley Williams is mid. I hope you burn in hell, just like I'm going to burn your family alive. I really hope I don't get demonetized for that. Hakeem is the GOAT center. All right, so this is an interesting one. If we're going, like, who at their peak was the best center of all time, I am going to go Hakeem. But the greatest center of all time is Kareem. I also find it funny how their names are so similar, Kareem and Hakeem. And so I kind of mix them up sometimes because of that. But Kareem has the long-term stuff. Hakeem's peak was a little bit shorter in comparison. Well, in comparison to Kareem, it was quite a bit shorter. But his peak wasn't as long as you'd like it to be, and he only won 2 championships. I believe only 1 MVP, if I'm not mistaken. I think he just won in '94. He also won Defensive Player of the Year. Meanwhile, Kareem has 6 MVPs, 6 championships, and the scoring record, and he played for 20 years, and he has a couple of scoring titles. He averaged 35 points per game once. Like, I got to give that to Kareem for the longevity. But peak, I would take Hakeem over Kareem, but it's definitely in the pure greatest of all time debate. Kareem wins that one. Coach Bud should be fired. Of course, he is referring to Mike Budenholzer here. Yeah. I mean, the one issue that I have with firing Mike Budenholzer is kind of the hope that he will finally make adjustments in the playoffs this time around, because he is a good coach outside of his stubbornness. Like, literally everything else about Bud I like for the most part. It's just he doesn't adjust shit. But the thing about that is also who is replacing him. Like, that's the main issue. Like, who replaces Mike Budenholzer? There's not a whole lot. There's not a big pool right now. A lot of the guys you would point to, like Kenny Atkinson, are currently employed by other teams. I know it's possible to get a guy who's currently an assistant coach. I don't know if there's just some clear, like, oh yeah, this guy will definitely be better. Like, that's a gamble. If you want to make the argument like you're going to lose anyways, sure. But I think the East as it is right now, I trust that the Bucks can beat. I think I'm still picking the Bucks to come out of the East. This will be the 3rd year in a row now, though. So if they could just fall short again. But I believe in them this year with Drew Holiday, even though they've not implemented him very well, which is a good bit on Mike Budenholzer. But it's tough. Like, yes, he's not the coach for them, but also, who is? You know what I mean? Being a top defender in the league today is a lot harder than it was in the 90s, because you can't put your hand on the offensive player, and today's players are way more skilled. For the most part, I agree with this. The main reason isn't the ones that you mentioned here, though. It's not the hand checking or the more skill necessarily. Really, it's 3-point shooting. I don't think people really appreciate just how impactful spacing really is. The fact that back in the 90s, shout out to BoJack Horseman, you could bring like 3 defenders on a guy and it was fine, because the guy you left open on the perimeter was not an elite shooter, and even if he was not encouraged to take that shot because 3-pointers were not valued. So in today's league, where a mediocre shooter in today's NBA would be a great shooter in the old NBA, it's night and fucking day. So in order to navigate that kind of difference in defense, to still be an incredibly impactful defender with that spacing difference, is far more impressive to me than what defenders were doing back in the 90s. That's not to say that what defenders were doing in the 90s wasn't impressive, but I would make the argument that the reason we see the league being more offensive oriented today, on top of the rule changes that happened, is the shooting. And for people to act like it is just defenders being worse, it's not. It's the difference of spacing. Defenses have not gotten worse, offenses have gotten better. And for that reason, being a great defender and as impactful defensively as a 90s defender today really speaks to how good you are defensively. LaMelo is already better than Lonzo. Well, I guess we're just saying obvious shit here. I mean, is there anyone that disagrees with this right now? Will there ever be a point with these two both in the league where Lonzo will be better? Yeah, it's not a contest. LaMelo was clearly miles better at everything except for defense. Do I grab another camera battery to do the outro? I don't think I do. I think you get a black screen. I think you are currently looking at a black screen, and I didn't feel like grabbing a battery to finish this. So, goodbye. Oh, shout out to Rudy for editing this video, by the way. Yeah, bye.